Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your burning hosts.
I am John.
And I'm CC, and when there's just too much cool anime to watch, we got you covered. Halloween is over, so it's time to battle the incoming winter winds with a healthy dose of burning desire, passionate creativity, and hot-blooded romance. So today, we will review 3 anime that ought to get your heart racing and your blood boiling in more ways than one. First, I will detail the misadventures of a bunch of high school bookworms who have to come to terms with their sexual awakening in O Maidens in Your Savage Season. Then, John will talk about the connection between love and musical creativity in Given. And last but not least, we will discuss the literally hot new movie from Studio Trigger, Promare. If that sounds like a fiery good time, stay tuned, we'll be right back. When 5 girls from a high school literature club decide to break the ice by making a bucket list of things each of them would definitely want to do before they die, one of them simply blurts out, sex. This little word sends a ripple across each girl's heart and kicks off 5 individual journeys of coming to terms with their own growing feelings in relation to their blossoming sexuality. But none of the girls can foresee how much this event will change their lives and those of friends, family, teachers, and the life of everyone at their school. So, O Maidens in Your Savage Season is based on a manga that started in December 2016 and ran for 8 volumes until October of this year. So it pretty much ended at the same time as the anime did, which makes me assume that both versions of the story have the same ending. But I'm not sure about that because I haven't checked out the manga yet. The series is animated by Ledus, who have come up in our show before. They did Magi Adventures of Sinbad, Release the Spice, which we reviewed, and Fate Grand Order First Order, which I'll hopefully finally get to watch this weekend. And O Maidens was directed by 2 people. First, there is Masahiro Ando, who we have mentioned as well several times before. He directed Snow White with the Red Hair and Sirius the Jaeger, which we reviewed both. He also directed Sword of the Stranger, Under the Dog, and was the animation director on the Cowboy Bebop movie, among a bunch of other things. He also teamed up with the writer of O Maidens before when directing Hanasaku Iroha, and we'll get to her in a minute. But the second director on O Maidens is Takuro Tsukada, who also directed Our Love Has Always Been 10 Centimeters Apart, which you might have at least mentioned in a sneak peek, John, if I'm not mistaken.
I think I talked about it in the same breath as there was another show at the same time.
Yeah, there were 2 shows that were pretty similar, and I think 10 Centimeters was one of them.
Just Because, I think?
Yeah, might be. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. And Tsukada also was an episode director on stuff like My Hero Academia, Noragami, Classroom Crisis, and Snow White with the Red Hair, so him and Ando have teamed up before as well. But the most prolific person on the crew is probably the writer of both the manga and the anime series, which is also one of the reasons that makes me assume that both the anime and manga probably wrapped up the same. And that is Mari Okada. Beloved by many, maligned by some, maybe, I don't know.
She's kind of divisive.
Yes, when it comes to my personal tastes, her character stories and writing in general are always very hit and miss. For every Makia, there is a Kisniver. For every Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphan Season 1, there is an Iron-Blooded Orphan Season 2. So far, when it comes to Okada, I feel like you can flip a coin before watching something of hers, and it's a 50% chance of me liking or disliking it. But I'm happy to report that O Maidens is definitely one of her good ones. Great ones, even. The most obvious reason for that is that it feels like the story and the characters come from an incredibly personal place for Okada. Don't get me wrong, I know nothing of her personal life whatsoever, but I can definitely imagine one of those girls or certain aspects of each of them is something Okada experienced in her high school life as well. And even if this isn't the case and I'm reading too much into it, every single one of the 5 girls is tremendously well written and very relatable. And what I also appreciated about the show is that it Unlike probably most romantic comedies in anime, at least those I've checked out, it strikes a very good balance between heartfelt romance, drama, and comedy. And I mean comedy that is actually funny and not just wacky misunderstandings. That usually makes me turn away from so many other entries in this genre. Okada also doesn't pull any punches when it comes to the drama in this series, and I'm not talking about the type of contrived, constructed, made-up bullshit, but very real problems that I imagine a lot of girls face when hitting that phase in their lives, because some of those experiences count for boys as well, so at least in that regard I can speak from experiences. There are some really gut-wrenching moments in this that feel almost too real to stomach. If you're easily affected by emotional turmoil, that is very close to life. And I really like that the show went there. But I think one of the things that grabbed me the most from the get-go is probably how the series handles the topic of sexuality, because it also has a surprisingly open and sober approach to that, which I did not expect at all. Usually anime either use sexuality in regards to fan service or for comedic purposes. And don't get me wrong, there are some jokes regarding to sex in this, but firstly, they are actually funny and not just, oh, he fell face first on her tits!
God, don't remind me of Island. Oh.
There are some really clever, funny jokes and wordplays and everything in regards to sex in this. And yeah, I like that. The comedy doesn't rely as much on misunderstandings either. There are some in there, but mostly not used as a punchline. And again, despite the sometimes wacky antics, this all feels very close to real life and not like a weird screwball comedy that can turn annoying quickly. And secondly, there's a lot of open talk and discussion about all aspects of sexuality in this show in general. In the girls' dialogue, through the underlying themes, even with the setup of them being in the literature club, because that club has gained some infamy on school ground for reading classic sexually loaded literature out loud during their club activities, which of course is somewhat taboo among the stiff old dudes leading the school, and has the girls clash with school authority on several occasions during the show. Which is, again, something I feel might have been something Mari Okada experienced herself, maybe, as a high school kid. Who knows? I can assume she was in a literature club, considering she's a writer now, maybe. So that might be something that happened to her. Either way, this show is uncompromisingly horny, and at the same time very earnest about it. Like, sex is the topic, but I don't think the girls are overly sexualized. Some shots here and there that might be seen as such or might cater to certain fetishes or something if you look hard enough, but nothing too overt or lingering. And the series neither uses the shonen ecchi framing of sex as just, like I said, fan service material, nor the classic shoujo approach of putting love on a pedestal, like this pure, pristine thing, untainted by worldly problems. Like, love can be great and beautiful, but also incredibly messy and painful and destructive, and sex is an important part of that, and I'm happy that the show addressed all of this more than adequately. And I think one of the pillars, or 5 of the pillars of this show are the characters. And I kind of want to address each of them a bit, because, the cast is not that big, and each of their stories are an important part of this entire story. Some more than others, but yeah. So we have the main character, who is Kazusa Onodera, who is this very nice, friendly girl. And one day she runs into her old childhood friend Izumi when I think she wants to bring food over to him. Yeah, that's the setup. Her mom asked her to bring food over to him because he's in the house alone, whatever. They still have a good relationship, but just being friends. And she runs up to his room. This happens in the first episode, so this is not really a spoiler. But yeah, she runs up to his room, opens the door, and catches him jerking off to porn. Which, can happen. First of all, that scene is staged incredibly well, and it's like, okay, all right, the show goes there. This is new, and of course, she just doesn't know how to handle it, runs away and stuff like that. But also, that kicks something off in her because she has to face certain feelings she's always harbored towards Izumi, and then she starts seeing him in a different light because she understands that he is interested in, sexual stuff, and that she might be interested in that too. And, hers and his story, their story, is a very important part of this whole show and how that develops in certain ways. And another important part of that is the next member of the literature club, who is Nina Sugawara. She's a troubled character because she had some difficult experiences in her childhood. She's also the girl who just blurts out that she wants to have sex, just that is on her bucket list. And she seems to have a problem of only being really to relate to people in a physical way when it comes to affection and everything, at least when it comes to the opposite sex. That means she behaves very different from the other girls and treats sex very differently from the other girls. She's much more open about it. She's much more forward about it. But that also means when it comes to real emotions, like really facing heartfelt emotions, she doesn't really know how to deal with that adequately. And that becomes a real problem when she starts finding also interested in Izumi. And then we have this kind of maybe triangle that develops in certain ways, and I won't give anything away there. It's not one of those things where like these three characters run from misunderstanding to misunderstanding to misunderstandings just to keep this fucking love triangle alive. It just uses the problems the characters have with coming to terms with their feelings, and uses that love triangle as a way to talk about these things. So that's much more interesting than just using that as a device for a plethora of fucking punchlines for comedy. And I like that. I thought that was pretty effective and pretty good. Another interesting character is Momo Kusuro, who is, I think, the best friend of the main character of Kazusa. I think they have been friends since early childhood. And initially, it seems like the other girls, she begins to be interested in relationships with guys. But as the series progresses, she comes to realize, and the viewer, this is also not really a spoiler, because this is foreshadowed pretty heavily. The viewer comes to realize that she might not be interested in boys at all, that she's actually interested in girls. And that becomes really a problem because she, of course, doesn't know how to handle that. There's a really, really gut-wrenching scene when she asks Kazusa at some point in the show if she would rather have sex with a certain male character or with her if the world would end tomorrow. And to her, it's an easy question because she already, has an answer to that because she was definitely want to have sex with Kazusa. But to Kazusa, that is naturally not an option because she is heterosexual. So she doesn't even think about that. And says, no, I would definitely have a sex with that male person. And of course, that is fucking gut punch for Momoko at that point. And the show is full of those moments. If you have a problem with shows getting super real when it comes to emotions, when it comes to these kinds of topics, like heartfelt romance topics, this show will floor you several times, probably. So be aware of that. Another important character is Hitoha Hongo, who is probably the funniest, just in terms of her behavior. She's kind of snarky and very, very blunt, and she is an aspiring novelist. And I don't know if she decided that on herself or if her stupid ass manager kind of pushed her into that, but she decided to write erotica novels. And she was supposed to be sold like this newcomer, fresh out of high school sensation writer that her agency could sell very well to the literature market. But her manager says that after reading some of her excerpts of erotica, that she writes like a 40-year-old male virgin. And of course that just fucking destroys her and makes her super angry. So she decides to investigate sex and sexual relationships and tries to, well, let's say, gain some expertise in that field so she can be a better writer. And that brings its own sets of problems with it, and is also one of the more problematic storylines in this show, and I'll get to that. But let's get to the last literature club member first, and that's Rika Sonezaki, who is kind of the chairman, I guess, the leader of the club, who's this very strict, nerdish girl with glasses and everything, tight haircut, and who is very openly talking about the whole sex thing, and feels like it's kind of depraved and everything. And she also makes up this funny acronym for sex called Esuibats. I think that's what they call it. I don't exactly remember how they come up with it, but it makes sense and it's pretty funny. I think it's how the words look and how the kanji are read in anything or something. They try to really come up with something they can call sex so that they don't get into trouble with the school board and everything. So, and also Sonezaki feels more comfortable talking about that if they call it that. So it serves a double purpose. That's really funny. Especially when they use that in front of other people when talking about something and nobody knows what they're fucking talking about. So what the fuck is Esuibatsu? But yeah, it's funny. Yeah, she seems at the beginning she seems to be kind of unsympathetic, especially because it seems like she is like this, has a bit of a snobbish attitude when it comes to people who openly express their sexuality and their emotions, whatever, are more forward about it. But that of course all comes from her own insecurities when it comes to that topic. And that also leads to a pretty interesting development when actually one of the boys in her class shows interest in her. So yeah, that is also one of the storylines in the show. Yeah, in general, I really liked all of the girls' stories and how they progressed and where they went and how they wrapped up by the end of the show. Some are more engaging than others, like Sonezaki's storyline goes to a certain, is really, really moving and heartfelt to a certain point, and then doesn't really move forward that much from there on out. So she's probably the least interesting of all of them. Doesn't mean that it's not interesting at all, just out of the 5, least interesting. Momo's story is very interesting, especially her slow way of realizing that she's just not into boys. And then the love triangle between Kazusa, Nina, and Izumi is, of course, some of the main drive in this show, and Hongo's storyline. However, Hongo's storyline is problematic because to investigate sexual stuff, she creates a profile on an online dating site and starts talking with a guy. She doesn't know who he is, but then she decides to suggest they meet in real life. And when they meet in real life, turns out that it's one of their teachers.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And he realizes immediately and tries to run away, which is, firstly, very good. Good decision. And that's, it's very funny. It's like his reaction just being fucking realizing sweat drenching off his fucking face and turning around and fucking storming off because he knows this is a bad place to be. The problem is Hongo won't let him get away because she decides that, hey, he can tell me about this shit, and he can probably also, because he's also a Japanese language teacher, I think, she thinks he can also make him a better writer, and she feels like, hey, maybe I can force him to, in a sexual relationship with me to learn about this stuff. And of course, he is trying his, I wouldn't say his darndest, and that's where the problem lies. He tries to keep her away, but she is very forceful and tries tries really to, well, at some point get into his pants, I guess. I think their prolonged relationship is problematic even if she is blackmailing him, because she says if he doesn't, like, first of all, they use him as nobody wants to tutor the literature club because, you know, it's kind of infamous and all the sex stuff. Nobody wants to deal with that of the teachers. So she blackmails him. She says, hey, if you don't help us, if you don't become the teacher who tutors this club, who sponsors this club, I'm gonna tell everyone that you had a fucking online relationship with me knowingly, which is not true. So that's very mean of her. But, you know, she has the check logs to back that up. And yeah, so of course he has to sponsor them. He has to become their tutor and sits around in the club room and everything. But like I said, she also wants to get closer to him and him to tell her more about everything in regards to sexuality and, you know, help her write better about it. The thing is, he has the life experience to know that this being Hongo's first kind of romantic experience means that she doesn't really know what she's doing. So letting her have her way and letting her run into misery by trusting her to eventually make a sound decision and break this whole thing off is really irresponsible, in my opinion, especially for a teacher. Like, he should have, like, even if this meant maybe complications for him, he should like immediately have cut this thing off. And it's like, no, okay, if you feel like you need to do that and need to go to the school board and everything, do that. But he lets this go way too far and way too continue for way too long, in my opinion. So that's kind of a problematic thing. But it gets wrapped up in a, of course, pretty funny, wacky, uncomplicated way and everything. So there's not really that much icky stuff related to that storyline. It's just like, okay, you should know better. Like, you really should. Even if the agency is on Hongo's side, like if she is the person doing the wrong thing here, really, the active force, she doesn't really know better. She doesn't have the life experience for that, and he does. So he should have behaved differently. And so that's one of the few hiccups in the show that I could think of. And the other kind of problematic thing, or like really icky thing in parts, like really disturbing thing, is Nina's background story, because she was a theater kid, even in early childhood. Like, she had theater courses, I think, and her theater teacher, I guess, is well, he's a pedophile. There's no fucking talking around it. The show doesn't talk about it around it either. They never had like a sexual relationship or anything, but he made his affections very clear, and that, of course, because she wanted to gain his appreciation and everything, made her feel like she had to do that in a physical way. And that also colors her later problems with relationships later in her life. And, you know, the whole thing with Kazusa and Izumi, and all that becomes very relevant in the story, and the teacher appears again and stuff like that. So that could have been really problematic, but the show always makes sure to portray it as problematic, like not beating around the bush. Every character, when she talks about her background story, like she talks about it with Izumi at some point, and I love Izumi's reaction to that story, because he says, the more you tell me about it, the more I want to throw up. Likewise. Like, it's really like every character she tells about, she's like, holy shit, this is fucked up, girl. Like, fuck. And, you know, sometimes anime, when it comes to relationship between older characters and very young characters, they like to gloss over that fact in some way or another. Mm-hmm. This show doesn't do that. Like, it also at a certain point takes a very definite stand on the whole thing and the character of the teacher, and he gets his comeuppance and everything. So that's cool. And I was very glad that this didn't go anywhere even more awkward and uncomfortable than it did. It got really uncomfortable in certain places. Don't get me wrong. Like, there are some parts where it's like, oh god, no, I don't like where this is going. Stop this. But it all wrapped up pretty well in the end. So I was happy about that because I was really worried at certain parts in this, points in the story that it might not. So yeah, those are the like two small hiccups in this show because everything else I really like. I think this is a fucking great romantic comedy / drama. There's a lot of drama in there, but nothing in the drama feels too forced or outside of reality or anything. Like I said, all the characters feel very real, very close to reality, very relatable. There's some really good emotional key moments in there, like good and bad, like where like emotional gut punches, but also really heartfelt, really emotionally rewarding, positive moments and turnaround moments for characters. This is definitely one of Mari Okada's best things I've ever seen, if not the best thing. Like I said, it can be emotionally harrowing if you can get engaged in these kinds of stories. And like I said, there are some icky parts, but you can get over that. And the comedic and emotionally heartfelt moments overpower these kinds of moments, I think. The final episode is pretty wacky, and there's a lot of yelling and high drama. And of course, the girls in general treat the sex stuff more important than it actually turns out to be, like more of a big thing. But that's high school. That's puberty. Mm-hmm. That's like this giant fucking intangible thing that you really don't have an idea of how it works. That's what sex is at that age. That's how the show displays it. Like for the girls, it's a very complicated, very, very big thing and turnaround in their life. But ultimately, it might not be as big of a thing as they made it out to be. And some of them come to realize that in the end. And that's really cool. And feels just down to earth, which I appreciated. I mean, there's some plot threads that are kind of open-ended in the ending, but that's what high school, adolescence, and puberty is about, I guess. There are no simple, satisfying answers, and everything is just a step towards an unknown future that can be good or messy and complicated. In that way, the ending is staying kind of faithful to the themes of the show, and in itself feels pretty satisfying. So I appreciated that as well. And yeah, if you want to check out this show, which is great, and I think offers enough enjoyment, even if you're not in high school anymore. I mean, John and I are not. And I liked that show very well. It was something very different from what I usually expect from this genre. And yeah, if you want to check that show out, it's streaming on High Dive. And I highly recommend it. I enjoyed it. It's very short. It's only 12 episodes. Has good pacing and is very entertaining and thoughtful and emotional, rewarding from beginning to end. And yeah, I would have liked maybe for the story to go a bit longer, to spend a bit more time with some of the girls to get a bit more development out of them. But I'm happy with what we got here. And I think it's enough and makes for a great little story. It feels very close to life and feels like it comes, like I said, from a very personal, heartfelt place.
So, we are jumping from what is ostensibly a high school romance story to another high school romance story. Don't let anyone tell you we talk about the most interesting stuff in the world.
Hey, this is a themed show. This is all about emotions, about passion and romance. I mean, the next review, if you want to see it a certain way, could be about romance as well. So I guess it all fits.
Yeah, kind of. So next up on the docket is a show called Given. So Given centers around these two young men, Mafuyu Sato and Ritsuka Uenoyama. So Mafuyu is, ready to go to school one day, just, another day. But he has this guitar that he takes with him pretty much everywhere. He sort of has this one spot that he goes to sort of cool off and take a nap. It's like there's these this back staircase in a gymnasium, and he has a chance encounter with Ritsuka. So Ritsuka is sort of in a slump. He used to be really big into music. He played a whole lot of basketball, but recently he hasn't felt like himself. He hasn't known what to really do with himself. But he when the two of them meet, interesting things start to happen because he takes notice. Ritsuka takes notice of Mafuyu's guitar, and it's a mess. The guitar strings are rusty and they're ready to break. And Ritsuka's like, "Man, what are you doing with your guitar?" He offers to fix it up for him, and Mafuyu is very taken with the fact that Ritsuka is very knowledgeable of the instrument and is able to so readily replace the strings, and he knows how to play it, and he wants Ritsuka to teach him how to play. He wants to learn from him, and Ritsuka is very sort of resistant to it at first, but he's eventually like, all right, fine. I'm in a band with two of my other friends, Haruki and Akihiko. Why don't you sit in on one of our jam sessions and you can see what it is that we do and decide if that's what you want? So he does, and from there, Mafuyu's interest in, playing music with Ritsuka and his buddies sort of starts to, grow and grow. Um, and it sort of gets to a point where Mafuyu starts to sing, just not really like sing, but like vocalize, like sort of like this tune that he has stuck in his head. And from that moment, Ritsuka's like, well, wait, hold on. This guy's voice is incredible. And it's like he's found his inspiration to get back into what he wants to do. And he wants to make Mafuyu the lead singer of the band. And there's some resistance at first, but they have some talks about it, and Mafuyu decides, yeah, all right, so I do want to do this thing, but there's emotional tensions, there's there's pasts to be dealt with, and have to come to terms with certain things. And thus is the story. We go from the story of O Maidens being this story of, self-discovery, and this is sort of the same thing, but as opposed to, how you were describing O Maidens as being everyone having their own individual look at, quite bluntly, sex.
Mm-hmm.
This is more of how these two characters in particular sort of come together, and in particular how Ritsuka sort of disseminates for himself what his feelings are, and what his orientation is really. I would honestly feel like saying that if Bloom Into You was the journey of self-discovery in a lesbian relationship, this is that for a gay relationship. And it's very well written. It's very sort of thought-provoking. I feel like is a good way of referring to it. It's just this incredible journey of self-discovery for not only these characters but everyone around them. And it's really well written. And before I get too much deeper into plot details, I want to talk about this is a show that was animated by Studio Lerk. I believe we determined that to be the pronunciation. They've worked on stuff like Assassination Classroom. They are the big Danganronpa studio. Hakame and Mikochi, Kino's Journey, the new one, unfortunately. Monster Musume Radiant, a show that we're going to be talking about next time. But yeah, it was the original manga was created by Natsuki Kizu, which, as far as I could see, it was the one big credit to her name. Like that's the one thing that she's worked on. It was directed by Hikaru Yamaguchi, who has done some episode direction on Gintama and Osumatsu-san. So those are a couple big names for you. Apparently, they directed an OVA called Eska Crone, which I had trouble finding a lot of information about. But the show was written in large part by Yuniko Ayano, who's worked on some stuff we sort of talked about before. Like I believe we've talked a little bit about Brotherhood, Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
We've touched on it.
We didn't
at
review
least.
it, but yeah, we touched on it.
Did the writing for Flip Flappers, which we have definitely talked about.
Oh, yes.
A little bit of Idolmaster, Cinderella Girls Inside M, Little Busters, an episode of Lupin the Third Part 5.
Yay.
A bit of Seven Deadly Sins. And because I'll try and draw parallels to, the fact that this is a show that focuses heavily on music, Bang Dream, which is another show that is heavily focused on music. I think Bang Dream was kind of born out of its mobile game roots, so make of that what you will. But hey, the thread is there. So, like I said, the meeting between Ritsuka and Mafuyu just sort of is a sort of chance thing that happens when the two meet in a back hallway staircase. And Mafuyu is very passionate about learning to play the guitar, but it sort of starts to remind Ritsuka of what it was like for him when he was first starting out, because his original passions and how he got into wanting to play music. But at first you can tell he's sort of like, oh my God, this kid is just going to follow me around and I don't know what to do. But you sort of start to see that slowly turn around into him being like, man, no one's ever really paid attention to me like this before. And he sort of, just begins to revel in it. Because he sort of starts to become sort of protective of him, of Mafuyu in a weird sort of way, not romantically at first, but after he introduces Mafuyu to his bandmates Haruki and Akihiko, they sort of start to see, hey, maybe there's more to these two than we thought. But at first, Mafuyu he's fucking terrible at the guitar. Like he is certifiably bad. But they sort of Ritsuka
which
sort
is
of
a rare
starts
thing, right? Because in some of those shows, it's usually like, hey, he has a hidden talent in terms of because of his voice and everything. But it's like, hey, these people start to notice each other because that guy is also very good at that thing that the other guy does, and right, and that's how they become band members and whatever companions. And him being incredibly bad at this, but getting in the band anyway is pretty funny.
It's refreshing to be like, I want to learn how to play the instrument. Okay, sure. Oh my God, where do we begin?
This guy might be a lost cause.
And there's that sentiment is echoed quite a bit at the beginning, but
by the other band members, I assume as well. Not only
by at least Ritsuka, but okay. Haruki and Akihiko they don't out and say it as bluntly, but they're sort of like, okay, you want to learn? Oh, okay. But yeah, the impetus for their meeting and the formation of this at first sort of stilted friendship between the two, it feels meaningful. Yeah, but it's around episode 4. Because at first, Mafuyu isn't sure if he wants to join the band, but he wants to learn how to play the guitar. So, what better way to learn than by joining them? So he joins them around episode 4, and there's there's rumors going around about Mafuyu, and it's not entirely clear what they are at first. But one of Ritsuka's classmates, this girl Kasai, they are talking at the end of this. I believe it's like the end of the school day, um, and she sort of says to him, "Hey, um, I've been hearing these," or it's like, "Hey, you're friends with Mafuyu, right?" "Yeah, sure. Why? What about it?" "I've been hearing these things about him." "What do you mean things?" And there's like this very emotionally tense moment at the end of this episode where the music is building and then it cuts and it's the end of the episode and it's like oh gee, it's like it feels
Is he part of the Yakuza? What are you talking about?
no, no, not quite. But as it comes to as you might have already figured from what I was talking about, it comes to find out that Mafuyu is gay.
Mhm.
And that's it's hard to talk around that sort of thing because obviously the culture in Japan is very different than it is out here in the Western areas.
Mm.
So that sort of leads into being like, well, hey, do you want to associate with him? Did you hear about what happened to his old boyfriend?
Mm-hmm.
Turns out his old boyfriend is dead.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, and
That went dark quickly.
you know that guitar that Mafuyu's been carrying around
Oh, boy.
belongs to his old boyfriend Yuki.
Mm.
So it's this sort of physical, emotional hang-up that Mafuyu carries around with him everywhere because he's not quite sure how to handle it. Because prior to Yuki's death, Mafuyu was like an entirely different person, and now that his boyfriend is gone, he has trouble speaking up and expressing himself, and it's just like this very sort of hard emotional moment that when you learn about it, it's like, damn, dude.
Mm. I can imagine. I mean, I can't imagine, but that sounds like it would be a lot of emotional baggage. And so, is the main storyline of Ritsuka to get through his barriers and try to build a relationship with him and help him get over his emotional baggage with his dead boyfriend, or is that only a side part and the main focus is them getting the band together?
I feel like it's a little of both, but the emotional baggage is definitely the hardest part to drill through, especially when Mafuyu says as such. He says he never knows how he's supposed to react. Everyone else can manage everything so well, but I can't.
Mm.
Because Mafuyu comes across as very stoic a lot of the times, except with the whole music thing. He's very like, oh my God, this is something I want to learn how to do. And it feels like almost like Ritsuka is there as an extension of it.
Mm-hmm.
It gets to a weird point because Ritsuka sort of starts to once he hears like the full truth of the rumor that Yuki had apparently died of suicide.
Oh God, this
Yeah,
gets worse.
yeah, he was really shaken up by it. But and he doesn't, how do you bring that up to someone? Because he still doesn't. He hasn't said as much to Mafuyu, but he also has these own feelings he's trying to wrestle with, and he's not quite sure how to handle them. He doesn't know what to say, and one of my favorite moments, and I don't want to talk too much about plot moving forward after it because it gets into spoilers. You could probably piece together things that happen after it, but in episode 7, I believe it's Haruki. Yeah, Haruki. It finally sorts to sort of crack the hard exterior on Ritsuka and says to him, "Hey, man, is there something there's something you want to talk about, isn't there?" And he says, "Dude, I think I'm in love with Mafuyu." And my favorite exchange in the episode is he looks at Haruki and says, "Is it all right that I have these feelings?" And that's the best part because he finally has it out to say these things, and he doesn't know whether or not it's okay to feel like that. Like
because no one ever told him that it's okay.
And it's like with that one character you were talking about in O Maidens, she's discovers her homosexuality, and she doesn't know how to come to grips with it. And when he asks that of Haruki, he says, "Yeah, man, there's nothing wrong with being gay." And it's this super validating moment, and it's just super impactful, and it's super great.
It's surprising that the show goes there, then, because again, I mean, there are definitely a lot of boys' love manga and anime out there, more manga than anime, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, have the storylines. Let's say Yuri on Ice had a gay relationship as well, but it was framed in a certain, I don't know. It was framed in a certain way that that felt like they were still trying to hide things. Like they were not openly admitting to that relationship being what it was. And it feels like some of the shows who have gay relationships in them in anime always try to dance around that stuff because it's not allowed to show certain acts of homosexuality on screen or in children's shows or whatever. I don't know what the actual law is in that regard in Japan, or if it's just a fucking code of conduct or something like that. But that I got the feeling from Yuri on Ice because like the characters never kiss, for example. There is a scene that obviously is supposed to be a kiss, but it's never actually shown on screen. There's a scene where the guy puts I forgot the two main characters' names. Puts a ring on the finger of the other guy, but it's a present for winning something, right? Mm-hmm. It's always in the symbols, but it's never like, "Hey, I want to marry you" or something. That stuff is never openly discussed. And then you have other shows where it's more explicit, but then it has this often like this negative connotation, like a Banana Fish, where a lot of the homosexual relationships had this violent like side taste to it. Like a lot of the homosexuality in that show came together with a lot of physical assault and stuff like that. So I'm still kind of waiting or wondering if there are actual shows that normally like fucking normally talk about homosexuality in anime, like where it's these two dudes are gay and they love each other or discover they might love each other, and then they fucking have a normal ass relationship, and the show is not dancing around that, and it's not talking around that by I want to be with you forever, and not like and them not actually saying I love you and stuff like that. So I wonder, does Given do that? Do the characters get to that point in the show, or is it again more of like dancing around that whole stuff a bit? Do they openly commit to each other at a certain point? You said that when he asked Haruki if it's okay to feel like that. Does Haruki actually use the connotation gay, or does he say something else? What's the how does the show treat that relationship when it comes to actually talking about the terms and stuff like that?
Well, I mean, Haruki on the side they definitely let you know that he has a thing for Akihiko.
Hmm.
So, of course, it's one of those things where one if one set of people is gay, everyone has to be. But
Hmm.
that's whatever. That's fine. That
Yeah,
doesn't
sure.
bother me. It makes it feel more normalized when that happens, I
I
guess.
guess.
So
Yeah.
that's fine. Um,
But it also robs the show a bit of, unless it becomes a love triangle, maybe robs the show a bit of conflict that could arise from, if let's say one of the let's say the other two guys are heterosexuals and one of them is maybe not let's say that comfortable with being in a band with a gay dude or something. If all the characters are gay, that stuff doesn't happen. I don't say it needs to, but it feels like some of the shows also try to circumvent this kind of stuff by just making everyone in the show gay. And I don't see that as much in boys love anime, especially since I haven't seen that many anime with actual gay relationships in them. But
mm,
I see that a lot in Yuri anime.
mm,
Like, Yuri is, I would say, more prevalent in certain anime genre, like, or at least undertones, like even stuff like what did we have? Release the Spice and Princess Principal. Like it's always there,
yeah.
and it's like, okay, let's make all the girls like maybe be into girls. Like Release the Spice was very fucking was kind of ridiculous in that regard. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, I mean, I appreciate that this might be the case, but the probability of this, it's not that likely. So you're clearly doing that for certain purposes,
Yeah.
and I get why you're doing that. So. Sorry, that was a
Ritsuka,
long tangent for something I didn't even want to talk about. But
no problem.
yeah, you were talking about how the show actually addresses that relationship from an outside perspective.
I mean, Ritsuka's big hang up at first when he starts to come to terms with his feelings is like, well, wait, hold on. Bad things happen when people who are in bands are in relationships.
Yeah, well, that's true, but that counts for heterosexual relationships as well.
Oh, no, no, yeah, yeah, yeah. They don't frame it as being exclusive to one orientation or another.
Mm-hmm.
But that's his big hang up at first.
Okay.
So all of this is a lot of build up to, which I kind of glossed over parts of it, but the four boys decide, they want to put on a show, and they book a time at this club, this small venue. Um, and I don't want to give away the night of the performance because what happens there is wild and incredible. It's, I want to say that, this show also has some incredible music to it as well. And this one scene, I believe it's in episode, God, was it episode? Yeah, it was episode 9, the night of the performance. That scene bears watching alone. And
Is
then there's a moment after the performance where where Mafuyu is so drained that he walks off stage, and Ritsuka just goes after him, and the two of them kiss quite passionately.
okay. So it's not hidden in any way, like the
No.
camera pans away. Okay, well, that's a surprise, and I'm like, okay, fucking finally. What
And
was the
then,
problem?
Ritsuka says, "All right, you can chill here. I'm gonna go back on stage so we can play the rest of the set. Cool, cool." Um, and there is the confession
Hmm.
in the next episode, and there's this really cute scene where Ritsuka is all up inside his own head, and all of his emotions are there, wrestling with each other because Mafuyu has the same feelings towards him, and he's like, "Wait, what do you mean he feels the same way? Hold on, I'm not. Am I ready for this? I'm not sure if I'm ready for this." And it's this very real inner dialogue that's fucking great. It's so good.
Funny too, right? Like
Yes.
It sounds like it's funny. Okay.
It's super good and it's super real and I didn't I
Is it
didn't
on par with the great inner dialogue of the main character in Gamers when he?
fuck gamers.
Sorry.
No, but it feels legitimately real, like because one part of him is like, yes, this is great, and another part of him is like, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this. Ah! And it's super well written, it's super good, and Mafia just sort of like snaps him back to reality, and it kind of goes forward from there. And it's really, like I said, the development from this chance meeting to, yeah, we're actually totally into each other. It feels meaningful over the course of 11 episodes. And I wasn't sure what to expect going into this. I was like, oh, it's going to be another high school drama sort of thing. And don't get me wrong, the drama is there, but the story doesn't feel super weighed down by like stupid teen drama. Yeah, there's the stuff there like, yeah, I had a boyfriend and he died of suicide. Oh, how do you confront that sort of thing? How does Mafuyu confront that? How does Ritsuka approach that? And there's the sort of go through what I feel like are the logical steps and interactions of at first trying to talk around it, but coming to terms with it as well. The scene where Ritsuka asks if his feelings are okay, if they're legitimate. Everything about this I feel like is very emotionally resonant. It has weight to it. And I, I didn't expect I would be going into this very gay high school love story and coming out on the other side and saying, yeah, you know what? That was really good.
It's on
Uh,
the writing, man.
yeah. And apparently there's going to be a movie later on that deals with the feelings between Haruki and Akihiko. And I hope they're able to, do that as much justice as well, because I'm interested in seeing how that plays out too.
Yeah, from what I've read, there are like two major arcs in the manga, and the first one is covered by the series, and the second one is going to be covered by that movie. So
Mm,
seems like they're like covering all the materials, so that's good.
yeah.
So you said like the final, like the where they put on their performances, like this magic moment thing. Is the presentation ever on the level of Color on Tuesday when it comes to the musical performances, or is it a bit below that, or maybe above that? I don't know.
I think it's maybe like a half step below. There, there was one moment where they zoom in on some CG hands, and
It's never a good thing.
I say it like that because it doesn't look super good, but it's like a 3 second shot. They don't linger on it. So when they get back to, the rest of the performance, it's like, whew, okay, all right, we're safe.
Mm.
But yeah, the
Well,
moment, the night of the performance is great. The song is incredible. Um,
how
even
many songs
if
are in the show?
there's a few, but this is the one big song
Hmm.
that they are focusing on and they write and they perform. But like the music overall in the show is really, really, really strong. It's I feel like it was very like emotionally appropriate from moment to moment. Which is funny that I choose that wording off the top of my head because the composer Michiru worked on Kokoku, which was also localized
Hmm.
as moment to moment.
Yeah, there you
Uh,
go. It all comes together in the end.
these weird threads. Also did the work on music in Izetta the Last Witch, which I recall had a pretty good, strong score as well.
Yes, it did.
But yeah, aside from weird CG extremities. Uh,
Hmm.
the night of the performance is great. The whole show was really, really well written and just super interesting to watch, and just the handling of wrestling with these feelings and the way it was presented in this positive light with this very with this good reinforcement behind it, but trying to get to that point, it was very strong, and I feel like it's definitely worth watching. It's 11 episodes, so it's not a huge time commitment. It's on Crunchyroll if you want to check it out. And yeah, I don't think I could recommend this highly enough, man.
You mentioned in the beginning Bloom Into You as,
Yes.
the lesbian side of things. So when it comes to very homosexual high school romance anime, what would you say is the stronger material here?
I honestly, I guess it really depends on what you're looking for, because they both had their strengths in how they handle, you know, their material and the relationships that they're seeking to portray. I feel like, though, as far as probably the anime adaptation is concerned, Given feels more complete, whereas Bloom Into You sort of leaves off on a note where they're like, "Hey, you can go read the manga if you want to know the rest of what's
Mm.
going on." So, if you want to know the arc between Mafuyu and Ritsuka beginning to end, yeah, Given the anime is great. But, if you're looking, but I guess, Bloom Into You, the manga, is probably how you'd want to experience that story. Unless they go back to it and make more episodes of it. They haven't announced anything like that I've seen. So, but yeah, I feel like it's going to vary depending on what you're looking for.
And another thing that speaks for the anime version of Given is the music, I guess.
Mm.
Because, you can't get the same emotional response from the final performance in the show, I assume, if it's, in written form or drawn form without the actual soundtrack accompanying it.
Very true.
Sounds good, both of those.
Well, I hope I've given you all a pretty good recommendation on the show, because I do think it's quite enjoyable.
"30 years ago, a cataclysmic event destroyed half the world in a fire and caused a mutation that created a new race of people called Burnish. Burnish are able to create and control fire. The Burning Rescue Fire Squad puts out fires caused by Burnished in the city of Promepolis. The new rookie of Burning Rescue is Gallo, a true hothead who wields Matoi tech, named after the Matoi banners that Edo period firefighting units used. Gallo's encounter with Leo, the leader of a Burnish terrorist group called Mad Burnish, sets a story in motion that will reveal many secrets and shake the pillars of the city to the core. Can Gallo and Leo put their differences aside and become the heroes this world needs?" So, Promare is an original anime movie by Studio Trigger, who we have mentioned many times before. Their most prominent work probably being Kill la Kill and Little Witch Academia, and recently SSSS Gridman, the latter two we reviewed on this show. It was directed by Hiroyuki Imaishi, who we have already mentioned on this show as well. He directed Space Patrol Luluko, which we reviewed, but he is also the director of Panty Stocking and Garter Belt, the aforementioned Kill la Kill, and of course Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. And if you have watched at least the latter two entries in his CV, you shall be perfectly prepared for what awaits you in Promare. The character designs by Shigeto Koyama, who also did the character design for Hero Man, feels very close to something you'd see in Gurren Lagann or Kill la Kill, with Gallo being almost a carbon copy of Kamina from Gurren Lagann.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Behavior, hairstyle, whatever, everything. The look and feel of the movie is very much akin to those two entries, though the movie is much heavier on the CG, and we'll get to that in a moment. But it's just as wacky, just as fast-paced, just as loud, over the top, and in your face as Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill are. So if you like that kind of sensory overload, you will like that movie. Pretty sure about that. For anyone else, this might sometimes be a bit too much.
It moves fast.
Yeah. And the commonalities with Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill don't end at the director and presentation. Promare was written by Kazuki Nakashima, who naturally also wrote, you guessed it, Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill. So again, if you know how the story and dialogue work in those two series, this is what you're gonna get here as well. Lots of people talking really fast and yelling a lot at each other. A bunch of bold, self-confident statements. Lots of in-jokes and poking fun at certain tropes. There is one particular joke in that regard that fucking floored everyone in the audience at the movie theater. Both John and I watched that in New York. Me, like... it has to do with the reveal of a certain weapon, but I won't give it away because it's really good.
Oh, that was super good.
Yes, it was fantastic. I love it. The movie in general is very self-aware and has a lot of fun with celebrating the series that came before it, and sometimes subverts and pokes fun at the expectations set by those series and that material. The music is also a highlight because it's composed by one of my absolute favorite music people on the planet, Hiroyuki Sawano. Attack on Titan, Kill la Kill again, Sengoku Basara, Seraph of the End, Seven Deadly Sins, Recreators. We have mentioned that guy so many times already, and rightfully so. His soundtracks are spectacular, and Promare's is no exception. It is on fire the entire time, and only lets up when the moment demands it. It is a blast to listen to, with or without the visuals accompanying it. Yeah, so one thing that sets this movie apart from the series that came before it is the heavy use of CG. And if you've listened to our show for a few episodes, you might have noticed that at least I am not the biggest fan of CG, but John also really isn't. So, John, what did you think about the CG in this movie?
I was very surprised with how, I guess, naturally it fit in.
Yeah.
Because, it just felt like there was a really good flow to all of the CG sequences. Like, there were scenes where it's like, you knew it was, but it didn't feel like it from the way everything blended together.
Yes. I mean, I still, just right out of the gate, and this will come a shocker to everyone, I'm sure, I still prefer the 2D animation to Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill. Big surprise. But this is probably as close as it can get for me to actually thinking looks fucking amazing. Like I mentioned in our new sneak peek when talking about Beastars, if a show or a movie has a very stylized look, also mentioned Into the Spider-Verse in that regard, a show can or a movie in this case, can circumvent some of the shortcomings CG has. And the same counts for Promare. A lot of the design aspects of the movie seem to have been created with CG in mind, especially just the special properties of CG and how it differs from how those differ from the properties of 2D animation, and how you can make the best use of the specific capabilities of CG the best way. And there's several examples for that. Like, you have a lot of scenes with heavy effects work and everything that feels very organic and fluid when done in CG. A lot of things where glass splinters and stuff like that. There are a lot of triangles in this show.
Yeah, there are.
And that might be difficult to animate by hand. And the show does a lot with small particles and just moving them in a specific way. And it feels like this is a thing that CG can do very well, and the creators of the show were aware of that, so they were like, okay, let's put a lot of that shit in this movie, because this will make the CG look good, or let's say it makes good use of this actually being a lot mostly CG. So it's like, yeah, okay, great, good idea. The color scheme is also very important, the color schemes used in this movie, because the movie is just colored in a very specific way that is kind of unusual. And the way how the color schemes are applied in this movie hides some of the stuff that would have made the 2D animation gel not as well with the CG as it does in this case. So yeah, it's good stuff. You definitely get the feeling that the people were aware of the shortcomings of CG and of some of the shortcomings of 2D animation, and how to use the best aspects of both these animation techniques to make them work together in the best way possible. And I was very surprised by that, positively. And I think this results in a fucking breathtaking looking movie. Like, from beginning to end. I think, John, you agree as well.
Everything about this movie is like a visual feast.
Yeah.
Like, from the color scheme and the character designs to just like, it comes out swinging with these crazy stylish action scenes, and fuck, man, this movie was nuts, just straight out the gate.
And like I said, it really never lets up. It's like, if you watched Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill, it's like some of those episodes have maybe quieter moments in there. And I mean, there are some quieter moments here as well, but they're very short and very few. Most of this movie is a lot of people just jumping around and fighting each other and yelling a lot, and a lot of shit exploding, like a lot of explosions. Holy shit. A lot of fiery explosions. And yeah, fucking mechs and all that good shit. Like, all you would want out of you know, this kind of anime is in here. And it gets bigger and it gets bigger. You know, that's also one of the things that, you know, Trigger always does, especially Hiroyuki Imaishi storylines. Like, it's like, hey, here, you know, we start not necessarily small, but smaller. And by the end, the show tries to top, or the movie in this case, tries to top itself and tops itself again. And, you know, does something crazier and crazier and crazier. And, you know, steadily builds up to a giant-ass climax. And, yeah, that movie does this perfectly. And I had so much fun looking at it. Like, it's just, like I said, for some people it might feel like sensory overload. Like, this is too much. I can't grasp all of this. This is just combined with the loud soundtrack and with, you know, with the loud voice performances and everything. Maybe for some people this is just too much. Like, they can't handle it. But I had a blast just looking at it and let it wash over me. Just all this nonsense, all this craziness. Just fantastic to look at, fantastic to listen to. The plot is not really surprising. like I said, if you have seen Gurren Lagann or Kill la Kill, you can see where this goes. But it's just so much fun getting there. And, you know, part of that are the characters. Not all important. The focus is definitely on Gallo and Leo. There is not that much time given to the other characters. Aina, who is a companion of Gallo, and her sister Harris have an important role to play. But aside from that and the villain, we really don't learn anything about the rest of the cast, which is a bit of a shame, because the designs of the birding rescue team members are all very distinctive and they seem like fun characters in their own right. So I would have liked to learn more about them. Same goes for some of Leo's allies, but this is a movie and not a TV series, so there's just so much time you can spend on the cast if your movie is mostly about blasting your audience with a constant barrage of face-melting action, which, you know, this is what this movie mostly does. So I think it was a good choice to focus the attention on a few single characters and making their stories matter, instead of, you know, spending so much time and, you know, having the movie out where it's welcome and everything, and, you know, bogging the pacing down and everything. And, you know, the other characters are there for texture, so it works. It's just like, you know, when you got a really cool cast of characters and you just want to spend more time with them and want to learn more about them. And that's, you know, what happened in this movie. Or John, how did you feel about the characters? Did you feel like everyone got their due time? Or did you feel like, hey, I maybe would like to learn more about this character than what we got?
I mean,
or did you feel like it was all appropriate?
I agree with you that not everyone got their time, but, you know, again, this is a 2 hour long movie, so you have to make compromises on that. And the story was definitely Gallo and Leo's more than it was anybody else, and so you got to work around that somehow with the time constraints you have.
And can talk about Gallo and Leo. They are pretty interesting. Just they're not complicated characters. Not really. Gallo is just like this weird, loud, brash, typically shonen, like I said, Kamina character. A bit bratish in the beginning, bit arrogant, maybe not as maybe not as sympathetic as he could be, but he quickly turns around and everything, and he's nice to his teammates. Whatever. He's just very loud, and takes him some time to get a grip on what's actually happening. And Leo is a bit more, he has a lot of things to deal with, and like his motivations are pretty understandable from the get-go. And even if you're not filled on all the secrets yet and all the plot revelations and everything, but it's like, yeah, okay, I get where this guy might be coming from. So I think they're a good main duo, and there's some more stuff beneath, like the super flamboyant surface as well. Like both Kill la Kill and Little Witch Academia feel like they had this underlying theme of what it means to be a creative person and being passionate for something and letting like artists do what they want, what they do best, and not constrict them in their creativity. And Promare is even more blunt when it comes to that metaphor. Like all the stuff with the burnish and how they are treated by certain parties and by society in the story can be seen as both a statement on how minorities are treated, but also how maybe the anime industry treats some of its most creative people by literally abusing their flames of passion and burning them out by having them work on some garbage because the market demands it, instead of letting them do what they want or what they need to do to fan their flame of creativity, because that's what their passionate hearts want to do. Like stuff like that is in there. But you can also enjoy the movie from beginning to end without searching for some hidden meaning or message that might or might not be there. Because it's just a fun as hell action romp that is almost without equal. And yeah, I can't remember when I think the last movie that was so fucking crazy over the top. I don't know if Dragon Ball Super Broly counts, because that was not really surprising in terms of its action. It was just incredibly well put together and one-upped itself also. Just it was a really good looking anime, but it was a Dragon Ball anime. You got what you expected. And this had some action stuff in there, even though I know Trigger stuff. There was like, oh man, this is really creative, cool shit, just in terms of how it looks. And I think the last thing that action anime that gave me that feeling, or anime movie that gave me that feeling, was Redline, probably. Just where it's like all this fucking crazy shit happening. It's like, holy fucking shit, what are you doing? This is amazing. I can't stop looking at this. Give me more of this fucking madness. And yeah, well, that Redline was made by Madhouse, so I guess that makes sense. Promare is like that. Like I said, sensory overload. Definitely see it on the big screen if you can.
Mm-hmm.
John and I got very, very lucky that when we were in New York for New York Comic Con, they had they extended the showings for that movie, and we found a movie theater that actually showed it, and we went there with all of our friends. And even though the fucking air conditioning didn't work in the movie theater,
so fucking hot. Oh my god, maybe it was for effect.
Yeah, I guess we stumbled into a 4DX presentation by accident, and the 4DX was just turning up the fucking heat to maximum. Everyone's sweating, but yeah, that definitely fits the movie and fit the atmosphere. So there you go. That's immersion. But yeah, I had a blast. I think you too, John.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, there's not much more to say about this movie. That's a problem. Like, the plot is pretty straightforward. If you wanted to talk any more about it, it would give stuff away. And, there are not that many spoilers to have here because, like I said, the story is kind of predictable.
Yeah.
You know the bad guy when you see him for the first time. Like,
yeah.
It's like, okay, all right. I get it. Of course. And you can imagine where that story is going to. And, there's some big callbacks to Kill la Kill, to Gurren Lagann, like some really, really, really familiar stuff. So it's like, hey, if you like that shit, if you like those series, if you like that style of Studio Trigger, that over-the-top action stuff, then, man, watch Promare. It doesn't get any better or more condensed than this when it comes to that specific Studio Trigger style.
I mean, I without trying to avoid spoilers, I mean, yeah, I enjoyed the movie, but I feel like the ending and the resolution kind of minimized the overall message a bit. I don't know if you felt the same way.
A bit, right? They make a pretty definitive statement at a certain point, and then they walk that back a bit with the ending. It's like, oh, okay, like, why? We were at a different place before, and it seems like you were okay with that. So why? Maybe that was a necessity. You felt like it. I don't know why they did that. You're right. It's like it's a bit weird. But it didn't really detract from the overall experience for me. It's like, yeah, you could have maybe done that better, or that kind of part was unnecessary. But it wasn't like where it pulled the movie down for me too much.
I mean, I guess it's what a lot of people will commonly refer to as a fridge thought. The movie's done. You've gone to the fridge to get a snack, and you're like, huh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like this small, lingering, weird aftertaste. But it's like, you didn't really have to do it that way, and it doesn't really gel with what you were trying to tell before. So, yeah, you're right. I was even thinking about that before. It's like, probably because, like you said, it's just a fridge thought, and already had left my mind already, and I haven't rewatched the movie until now. I only got to see it once. I mean, that's also one of the reasons why I can't really talk about more like maybe small moments that stuck out to me in detail, because I've seen it once and I couldn't take any didn't take any show notes, didn't want to take any show notes in a fucking movie theater. So, yeah, this is all from memory, and there might be some cool integral stuff we're missing, but I think most of what the movie wants to do, it does very well. It comes together very well, minus that one small weird thing and at the very end that I also, like you, don't really get why they did that, but okay. Maybe, I don't know, we get an alternate ending on the Blu-ray. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, the way to watch this is probably the theatrical experience.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not sure about internationally, but the distributor is going to have the movie returning to theaters on December 8th. So I think the website is gkidstickets.com. You can go there and find a theater showing it, and you should see this movie.
Most definitely. This was made for the big screen. This is like like I said, let them blast your fucking face off with that shit in the movie theater. Try to find one with air conditioning, maybe. I mean, like I said, dying in heat was nice for the immersion, but I cannot necessarily recommend that.
I mean, even one of our friends who is with us, who isn't as into anime, was like, "Yo, that shit was dope."
Yeah, I think it was said, I have no idea what was going on, or he said it was super crazy, and I enjoyed every fucking second of it. So, agreed. I don't know about Germany, actually. I was looking for it several times, but so far, no, there don't seem to be any plans for movie theater showings here. So maybe that will still happen. I mean, we had to wait quite a while for the My Hero Academia movie for the first one, and I think for Dragon Ball Super Broly as well. So maybe that might still happen, and I'll definitely watch it again if it makes its way over here. And if not, I'll just, wait for the Blu-ray and then watch it again, because I definitely want to show this movie to a bunch of the people, my friends who like anime over here. Because this is, like I said, this is like one of those anime movies where it's like, hey, if you like anime, if you like action, if you like crazy over the top bullshit, if you like pretty well put together story, not complicated, but with a good emotional payoff and everything. Just a small weird hiccup at the end. Like everything about the production of this is really, really, really good. Mm-hmm. And I think if you give it a chance, and I've heard nothing from people who've watched it, I've heard nothing but positive feedback. Like I have met no person or heard from no person that got out of Promare and said like that absolutely sucked or even remotely sucked. Everyone is being like super hype about it if they have seen it. So yeah, you can be one of those people. So try to be. Like this is definitely not only the characters in the movie are burning with passion, we are also burning with passion for Promare. And this is definitely an anime movie you should not miss. And that is a wrap on the 83rd episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in our show is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to vrt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Our show is available on most of the popular podcast services, but it's always worth visiting animebrainfreeze.com for our review index and more. Leave us comments and questions on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at AnyBrainFreeze, or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in, we hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next episode. Macht's gut!
So long, everybody.
Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
The return of the science side anti-hero.
How to survive in Deep Space 101.
And shifting gears into X Drive for one final adventure.